My name's Shirley. I'm 56 years old. I have been training pole for on and off about 10 years. I'm currently training at West End Pole Dance Academy in their intermediate class. I was diagnosed quite late in life when I was 19 with epilepsy, and it was quite a difficult period for probably 5 or 6 years to get through that. I think I probably used it as an excuse not to exercise, yeah. And then when I came out of that, the work I was doing at the time involved a lot of travelling. I was travelling overseas an awful lot. I was living overseas quite a lot. So again, I never really had the opportunity to, and I never really wanted to get involved in physical exercise. I would very occasionally head to the hotel gym if I was feeling energetic. And I happened to be staying down in London over a weekend during a project I was working on, and I just randomly decided to go and do a pole dance class at London Dance Academy. It was a Saturday morning, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just got up and went to this pole class, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a unique form of exercise for me. It was so different. I think it was everything I hated about sport, all that team sport stuff. It wasn't that. It was just me and a pole and my own body and nothing else.
Con este tango que es burlón y compadrito, si a todos alas la ambición de mi suburbio. Con este tango nació el tango y como un grito salió del sórdido barrial buscando el cielo. Conjuro extraño de un amor hecho cadencia que abrió camino sin más ley que su esperanza. Mezcla de rabia, de dolor, de fe, de ausencia, llorando en la inocencia de un ritmo juguetón.
My name is Alice. I don't really remember a lot of my childhood. I mean, being undiagnosed neurodiverse with ADHD and autism and not knowing I was trans yet was not great. It was a very difficult time. So as I started being more sociable, getting into my last year of uni, because having a diagnosis and knowing who I actually was made it a lot easier to talk to new people. And so I ended up making a couple new friends, one of them by the name of Kat, and they basically invited me to try it. They said, "Hey, I think you'd really enjoy this." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll give it a shot. To start with, it was very much like, spinning is fun, but I'm never going to touch any of that sexy stuff. It's fast forward just over a year.
I've been going to West End Pole for about 2.5 years now. Before I worked in admin, I was a bodywork therapist. So I used to go to the gym, do yoga, do things like running, because I needed a certain kind of level of physical fitness for my job. When COVID came, like a few years ago, it really limited what I could do fitness-wise. So it was even easier to kind of fall away from the things that bored me. Kind of when things started opening up a little bit again, one of my friends was getting married. I realised I really had to get back into some form of fitness. I'd always been really interested in pole dance, but it was one of those things that I'd been like, I can't tell people that I'm interested in pole dance, like what will they think of like me as a person? However, as I get older, I sort of cared about that a bit less. So I was like, no, I'm going to go to class and we'll see how that pans out. And I've been there ever since. It's been one of the best things I've ever done. A really big epiphany for me was like, I went there for fitness and kind of like physical mobility and strength and flexibility, but the mind shift that happened was really the biggest, most impressive component to it for me. My whole life I've been like quite sort of self-conscious. But going to pole, there's been like a kind of series of little kind of like drip feed moments. Like I don't even know if the instructors do this on purpose or it's just like, they're just so good at like instilling this in people. But it really builds like so many aspects of yourself. I was doing like probably what is considered like quite a basic move. So it's called a body wave, where you're kind of like, you're being quite slinky with the pole. And one of the teachers asked how I was getting on with something, and it was that move, and I was like, yeah, I think it's going pretty well, like I really like it. And she was like, yeah, because it looks really sexy. This will sound really silly, but the fact that someone was giving me permission to try and be sexy and that I was achieving it was like earth-shattering. Like I think in media, sexy is seen as this thing that you have or you don't have, and it's very effortless. But the fact that I could work on being sexy, and it was okay, that it was okay to want that, and it was okay to work towards that, and that people had to put effort into it. The fact that I was given permission to do that was like...
I was doing pole down in London. The teacher I was with, Alan Gibson, moved out to Italy, and so I used to go out there occasionally to do pole camps with her. One particular session, she had an aerial hoop up, and I got into that, so that's great. So when I came back here, I found somewhere where I could train aerial hoop, which was actually in Kelvin Hall. And they had the flying trapeze rig, which got me into flying trapeze. So I was commuting down to London, so I was doing pole down there. I was also at the National Circus Centre down there doing anything, silks, handstands, rope. And then I was coming up here and I was doing flying trapeze at the weekend, so I was doing a lot. So much that I actually decided to give up my job for a little while and do a foundation course in circus arts. Best resignation letter you will ever write. I am leaving my job to run away and join the circus. And that unfortunately coincided with the start of the pandemic. So it was literally day 2 of that foundation course that everything shut down, went into lockdown. But the course, they tried to continue it online, which was great. So I actually learnt to ride a unicycle over Zoom in the middle of COVID. I was living quite remotely, about 100 miles north of here, and I had a studio in my ground, so I'd put a pole up there so I could still train pole while I was doing it. But it was during COVID that I got a call from my now business partner and another who phoned me to say they were thinking of setting up a flying trapeze and a circus school, because where we had been, it'd obviously come down during COVID and they'd had to leave the building they're in, so they couldn't put the fly rig up anymore. So I was asked if I wanted to be involved in setting up a new circus school. So yeah, why wouldn't you? I'm actually an accountant, so I've gone from sort of, being an accountant in the financial service industry to owning a circus school, which I never thought I'd see on my CV at all. So we got together and we actually incorporated the company in June 2021, so just coming out of the pandemic. Our very first gig was an outdoor kind of getting families together coming out of lockdown, so getting young kids outside together to interact with each other. And then we bought this place in September. Our offer was accepted and we finally got into it in I think it was April 2022 we started our classes here. That's the board up there for the flying trapeze, so you would go up that ladder on that board and you can see the fly bar there, and you'll just swing out from there. What we also have then, at the other end, is you have what we call the catch bar. So you'd have somebody up there, the catcher, who would just be swinging in. So you do partner swing, come together, catch each other. We have a lot of points for static trapeze, we have hammocks, we have silks, we've got aerial hoop, trapeze bars, just about every aerial equipment you can imagine. We have the trampoline as well, and we do acrobatics, handstands, that kind of thing. And then we have all our manipulation equipment and balance over there. So we have plate spinning, we have rings, we have Diablo, we have flower sticks, juggling, I think you name it, we've got it down here. loads of stilts as well, which I cannot do. That's one thing that I really am no good at, is stilts. And then we have our tight wire here, and all our unicycles. All of that stuff we can use, so we can go out sometimes. We go out to events and do sort of, you know, what we call pick up and play. So we just put it all around, let everybody come in and try it all out. The fly rig has taken us a little bit longer to get to. It took us a few years to get sort of, you know, all the planning permission and everything in place. So that actually got set up in May this year. It is the UK's only indoor full-size flying trapeze rig. So yeah, it's quite an achievement.
I know that in some studios or like some areas of pole dance, like that are maybe more fitness orientated or things like that, they almost sort of look down on the stripping element of pole. Personally, I'm super grateful to those women and those strippers that came before me, who worked, like I do pole as a hobby, they did it as a job in like really harsh environments. They had to teach themselves, pole is difficult, so I'm really grateful that I have an instructor saying like, A, B, C, this is the move, and like saying that like repetitively to me and guiding me through it, and also like spotting me. But the strippers that like developed this had to do that on their own. They didn't get like the luxury of, oh, here's a studio with everybody cheering and supporting. Like they had an audience that were maybe sometimes hostile or like actively like being discouraging. Like basically the strength and the fortitude of these women who developed this, I think, is like unbelievable. And so I think it's so disrespectful that some people don't acknowledge like their endurance and their strength and what they've contributed, not even what they've contributed, like what they started for everybody else. So I also like, it's sort of a test for me, like if I do meet other pole people or when I tell other people like that I do pole, what they kind of think about that. I remember speaking to somebody in work who is lovely but is of an older generation, and they were about to retire and they were looking for like other hobbies and things to do, and I was like, oh, you should take up pole, and I wasn't joking, like it's a good suggestion. And they said, and I like, they didn't mean it disrespectfully, and I do kind of love what they said. They went, oh, it's too tarty. Someone else that was listening to the conversation was then like, oh, I need to recover this, obviously, and like started panicking and was like, oh no, yes, but it's very athletic as well. And I turned to them and I was like, yes, but it is also tarty, and that's why I do it. Like, so yeah, so I think it's really worth acknowledging that, like playing with that if that's what you want to do as well, but also like being respectful like of where it came from too and its origins.
When I first started it, for me it was mostly about the strength and building up my strength, and it's amazing for doing that, it really is. But I was always quite clear that, or in my head I thought I was always quite clear that, you know, the exotic pole was never for me. It just wasn't something I was particularly interested in. But actually, one thing I find about pole is quite liberating. You know, as a woman, it taught me to kind of respect my body and what it can do, and actually what it looks like, and I enjoy, you know, the movement and some of the sensuality you get with pole now, in ways that I never thought I would when I first started it. And if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't then have gone on to the aerial hoop, to the flying trapeze, to owning the circus. So, you know, it all started with that one random pole class completely. Oh, totally. I really am. I don't believe that age is a barrier to anything. And you know, because I didn't enjoy sport and didn't do it when I was younger, and then when I discovered this and got into it, and pole really has been a strength builder for me, and everything else it's got me into, I will honestly say I am stronger and fitter at the age of 55 than I was when I was 20 or 30. You know, and I will keep going as long as I can.